5 myths you've likely heard about working with other people in the office. If this is your first time here, I'm Chris. This is the Office Survival Guide channel where I give you the skills you need to crush it at your office job. And in today's video, I'm gonna be dispelling these common myths about working with other people that I'm sure you've heard in the past, and I'm gonna tell you what they really mean and what it's really like. Myth number 1, we're all on the same team here. I'm sure you've heard that phrase, we're all on the same team. The subtext is because we're all on the same team, we're all on the same team, meaning we have each other's backs, we all have the same goals, and that sounds good, but in real life, there's a lot of people that have their own personal motivations. And so that's something you really need to be aware of. And while yes, there may be some really high functioning teams where everybody is aligned and everybody's on the same page, not all teams are that way. And so you should be on the lookout for other people on your team that perhaps don't actually have the team interest in mind, but only have their own interests in mind. And this took me a while in the workplace to really understand, because I went in with that mindset to be like, everybody's here for the team, but you know what? A lot of people are in it just for themselves. Maybe not a lot of people, but there's enough people that are in it for themselves that if you're not paying attention to it, then those people can end up really hurting you. Myth number 2, we're all professionals on this team. When this is said, it often assumes 1, a certain level of competence of the team members on the team, but 2, it also assumes that as professionals, the people on the team do the work they don't like just as well as the work that they do like. That's my definition of being a professional. And it turns out there's a lot of people that come to the workplace that aren't professionals, that are actually adult children, in the sense that they don't like to do things they don't want to do, and they visibly show it. For example, a professional, if there's a 7 a.m. meeting, the professional comes to the 7 a.m. meeting just like it was a meeting at any other time. The unprofessional comes to the 7 a.m. meeting and complains about how early it is, complains that they need toothpicks in their eyes, and not in a joking way, but in a pretty serious way. And so you'll find in the workplace there are indeed some professionals, and ideally your team is actually full of professionals, but not everybody in the workplace actually comes with a professional attitude. Myth number 3, we can all be friends. This one sounds pretty good, but in reality, it's actually not true. There are so many different types of people and so many different personalities that in the workplace, you simply will not be able to be friends with everybody. I like to consider myself a pretty friendly person, but in the course of my work history, there have been a few people who really just didn't get along with me, and I really didn't get along with them. And so you shouldn't make it your life's quest and goal for everybody to be your friend, because there are going to be some people that's just never going to happen. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to be unprofessional to those people. It also doesn't mean you need to be miserable to those people. But if you come across 1 or 2, 3 of those people that are fire and ice to you, don't spend all of your time trying to figure out how to get that person on your side to be your friend, because it might just turn out that that person's one that's never going to be your friend. And you can be okay with it. Myth number 4, I don't go to work to make friends. If you've heard somebody say this in the workplace, it's typically after they've been a real jerk, miserable, angry to somebody. They're trying to get something done, they're trying to get a task through, they're trying to do it quickly, and they've angered people, and so they say, look guys, I am here to get things done, to do my job. I don't come to work to make friends. And this myth assumes that getting things done doesn't require being nice to people. And this is completely untrue. Relationships are a currency in the workplace. And now, I know earlier I said that you can't be friends with everybody. And in fact, you don't need to be friends with everybody, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be friendly with everybody. Part of being a professional is being courteous, being polite, and I would even dare say friendly. Smiling at people, asking them how they are, asking them how they're feeling, those sorts of things. It doesn't have to be super touchy-feely, but you can be polite with everybody that you work with. And if you think that you can just mow over them and be a total jerk and still get them to do what you want, that's not really going to work, especially in a team setting with peers. The people who are really the best on a team are the people who can convince their other teammates to go a certain direction, to help them out. And also the best people on a team are the people who help out other members on the team. You should definitely think about when you're going to work and you're working on a team to be friendly with them and help them out when they have a problem, so that when you have a problem, they help you out. Because when your boss asks you to do something kind of hard, kind of complex, the way you're actually going to be able to do that really well is by tapping into those relationships that you've built, particularly in a large organization where if you're in engineering and you need to get something done from marketing, you might have to go up a few bosses and down a few bosses. But if you've built good relationships, you might just be able to call up that person in marketing and say, hey, can I get a favor from you? And they'll be like, yeah, absolutely. You helped me out in the past. No problem. What do you need? But if you've been the other person who says you don't need to make friends and is a jerk to everybody, when you call up the person in marketing, they're probably not going to even answer your phone. Myth number 5, we're a family on this team. And while I really want this myth to be true, it's not true, because your family can't get rid of you in a day, but your job can. At your workplace, they can fire you. One day you're there, one day you're next, and in that case, you can never see any part of your family again. Well, you could see them after hours, but you couldn't see them at work, and your family likely is never going to do something like that to you. This often affects, I think, younger professionals the most, because they come out of their family, they go to school, they're maybe in a fraternity, and they're seeking something where they still have a social life, close bonds, and younger professionals have a tendency to go all in, which means that they're doing things with their coworkers on the weekend. They're doing things with their coworkers on the evening. They're traveling with their coworkers. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. That builds a great, strong team. But it's also really important to have interests outside of your workplace, social connections outside of your workplace, because if something's happened, you're fired, you're laid off, you actually want to have a life outside of work so that that devastating effect of being fired or laid off isn't completely devastating if all of your support circles are only at work. Now, speaking of myths, you might enjoy watching my video about common myths about working overtime. Is working overtime good? Will you get promoted more if you work overtime? Watch this video and find out. You'll also find links in the description to that video below.